Question number 1. The adult human skeletal system is composed of how many bones? 256, 216, 206, 260. The correct answer is C. 206. The skeletal system is composed of 206 bones. Skeletal system is divided to two parts: axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton is composed of 80 bones. Appendicular skeleton is composed of 126 bones. Question number 2. Which of the following is not a function of the skeletal system? Hemopoiesis, mineral storage, support, digestive. The correct answer is digestive. Hemopoiesis means production of blood cells in bone marrow, red bone marrow. Digestive is a function of digestive system. Question number 3. An example for sesamoid bone: patella, sternum, vertebrae, carpals. The correct answer is patella. Sternum is an example for flat bone. Vertebrae is an example for irregular bones. Carpals are example for short bones. Question number 4. An example for flat bone: femur, sternum, vertebrae, tibia. The correct answer is sternum. Femur is an example for long bones. Sternum is an example for flat bone. Vertebrae is an example for irregular bone. Tibia is an example for long bone. Question number 5. Long bones are almost completely covered by epiphysis, pericardium, periosteum, endometrium. The correct answer is C. Periosteum. Epiphysis is end part of a long bone. There are two epiphyses in a long bone. Pericardium is located at the heart. It is the outermost layer of the heart. It is the outermost layer of the heart. Long bones are completely covered by a periosteum. It is a vascular membrane. Endometrium. Endometrium is the inner lining of the uterus. Question number 6. Which of the following is not a type of a bone cell? Osteoblasts, osteoclast, osteocyte, astrocytes. The correct answer is astrocytes. There are three types of bone cells: osteoblasts, osteoclasts, astrocytes. Astrocyte is a type of a neuroglia. It is a star-shaped neuroglia cell. Question number 7. Osteoblasts and osteocyte cells responsible for bone production and bone breakdown, blood supply and nerve supply, bone breakdown and blood supply, bone breakdown and hemopoiesis. The correct answer is A. Bone production and bone breakdown. Question number 8. Axial skeletal is composed of how many bones? 180, 80, 126, 206. The correct answer is B. 80. The axial skeletal includes 8 cranial bones, 14 facial bones, 6 osteocytes, 1 hyoid bone, 26 vertebral bones, 24 ribs, and 1 sternum. The total number of 80 bones. Question number 9. A bone of axial skeletal: skull, shoulder, upper limbs, pelvic bones. The correct answer is A. Skull. Question number 10. Which of the following bones is not a part of the appendicular skeleton? Lower limbs, upper limbs, shoulder, sternum. The appendicular skeleton consists of shoulder, pelvic bones, and limbs bones. Question number 11. The only movable bone of the skull: ethmoid bone, zygomatic bone, mandible bone, maxilla bone. The correct answer is C. Mandible bone. Question number 12. The number of bones of the cranium is 8, 10, 18, 6. The correct answer is A. 8. There are 8 bones of the cranium: 1 frontal bone, 2 parietal bones, 2 temporal bones, 1 occipital bone, 1 sphenoid bone, and 1 ethmoid bone. Question number 13. The bone of a facial: ethmoid bone, occipital bone, lacrimal bone, parietal bone. The correct answer is C. Lacrimal bone. The number of bone of the facial: 14. 2 zygomatic bones, 2 maxillar bone, 2 nasal bones, 2 lacrimal bones, 1 vomer bone, 2 palatine bones, 2 inferior concave, and 1 mandible bone. Question number 14. The bone that forms the back of the head and part of the base of the skull: frontal bone, sphenoid bone, ethmoid bone, occipital bone. The correct answer is D. Occipital bone. Question number 15. The suture present between the frontal and parietal bones is coronal suture, sagittal suture, lambdoidal suture, squamous suture. The correct answer is A. Coronal suture. Main suture of the skull. Coronal suture, sagittal suture, lambdoidal suture, squamous suture. Question number 16. The first cervical vertebrae is coccus, atlas, axis, sacrum. The correct answer is B. Atlas. The first cervical vertebrae is atlas. The second cervical vertebrae known as axis. Question number 17. What is horse-shaped bone? Hyoid bone, vomer, ethmoid bone, lacrimal bone. The correct answer is hyoid bone. Hyoid bone is a special bone. It is not articulated to any other bone. Question number 18. The bone that form the forehead is temporal bone, frontal bone, occipital bone, parietal bones. The correct answer is B. Frontal bone. The temporal bone forms side of the head. Frontal bone forms forehead. Occipital bone forms posterior part of the head and part of the base of the skull. Parietal bone forms side and roof of the skull. Question number 19. The first 7 pair of the ribs known as true ribs, floating ribs, false ribs, free ribs. The correct answer is A. True ribs. The first 7 pair of ribs known as true ribs. Next 3 pair of the ribs known as false ribs. The last 2 pair of ribs known as floating ribs. Question number 20. Which of the following is not a part of the sternum? Manubrium, body, sesamoid process, transverse process. The correct answer is D. Transverse process. Located at the vertebrae. The sternum divided to 3 parts. Manubrium, body, sesamoid process. Question number 21. It is also known as a breastbone. Sternum, scapula, clavicle, maxilla. The correct answer is A. Sternum. clavicle bone known as a collarbone or beauty bone. Question number 22. Air containing spaces present within the bones of the cranium. Antenella, sinus, joint, epimysium. The correct answer is sinus.